Hey, fellow leaders, do you know what this bell is for? It is our wake up call. The world is shifting at lightning speed. Technology is rewriting the rules. Generations are colliding at uh, exceptional speeds. The values expectations are clashing, and the AI revolution is unfolding that will flip our world upside down before we can even blink. Right now, anxiety, burnout, and uncertainty are at record highs. In this storm, the question isn't if change will hit you, it's how prepared are you when it does? Will you be the leader who panics or the one who transforms pressure into possibility? But this is also the greatest opportunity in leadership history. If you know how to lead with clarity, with courage, and with higher consciousness. That's why we created the Superconscious Leader, not just to help you survive this chaos, but to help you rise above it and thrive, turning disruptions into your greatest advantage. In the age of AI, you don't need to be superhuman. You just need to be super conscious. Welcome to a super conscious leader. I am Dr. Adil Dalal. You're watching Now Media Television. So, welcome to a super conscious leader. Your journey to the pinnacle of leadership starts here and starts now. My guest today is Dr. Deepak Bhootra, a leadership coach, system thinker, and a strategic advisor who bridges emotional intelligence with business growth. The author of Rise Up, Your Career Reclaimed, Dr. Bhootra helps leaders and organizations align purpose, performance, and peace. His philosophy redefines success with growth and integrity. Welcome to the show, Dr. Bhootra.
My pleasure being. Thank you for having me, Dr. Dalal.
Welcome. Welcome to the show. So, this segment explores the transition from fear driven leadership to service based influence. It focuses on how intention, energy, and mindset shape sales and leadership outcomes. So, Dr. Bhootra, how does fear based selling show up in teams and leaders?
Fear-based selling is such a powerful concept, right? Because the word fear itself
Mhm.
tells you that this is one of those questions which fear-based selling is pretty easy to determine actually. Dr. Dalal, you just have to actually look at the behavior. You're going to suddenly
Mhm.
see people scared of going into meetings because this review is going to annihilate me. They're going to ask me all these questions. Fear-based reactions are typically where you start using formulaic answers to where you are in your strategy or in your sales effort, but you never focus on the customer. And that's fear. The fear that if I do not bring this deal in, some harm will befall me and my reputation. Whereas we are not thinking about the customer and using language which is customer centric. That for me is how the first manifestation of fear I see in the work I do. Walking into a room and listening to people talking about where they are in alignment to the in alignment to the company's objectives versus thinking
Mhm.
about whether they have alignment with the customer's objectives. Those are the clear indications that a company is running on fear factor rather than on what does the customer want and how do we deliver this service and how do we
Excellent.
give credit to that effort.
Very true. Very well said, Dr. Bhootra. And we've all faced that, right? A sales guy is telling you this deal is only till tonight, right? After today, we will not be able to do this. Or you go to buy a car, and that's the entire strategy they use, and it's really it doesn't work with people like us, right? We smell that, and we will not go for it. So, moving from fear-based selling to a different style is so important. So, Dr. Bhootra, why is operating from service more sustainable and effective than operating from this fear or stress model?
So there are two elements to fear, right? There's one is how you fear your customer into buying from you, which I call is the ultimate salesy mode. And I think that's what you're
Yes.
alluding to as well, right?
Yes,
This is
exactly,
where you are
exactly.
scared to actually go buy a car because you know you're going to get attacked And you're going to tell the guy I'm still shopping around, and you're going to leave with a feeling that, you know what, he just wanted to sell me something, even if it
Right.
was a second-hand car. The other fear that
Exactly.
I'm typically talking about is also the fear of how you're being managed at work, and when you're fearing the environment at work because you're being measured on outcomes, not necessarily on inputs. And that is extremely
Right.
critical. Now, you spoke about service. Service for me is a higher order way of thinking, right? Dr. Dalal, for me, service is something that is coming from a point of purpose. And that's exactly what I always tell salespeople.
Right.
When you are trying to sell based on fear, buy now or regret forever, or when you're fearful that your performance is going to get judged by the fact that you didn't make a quota, then you're not
Right.
doing service. You're not thinking about the customer. Purpose is, what will the customer get out of this? How will I benefit the customer and the way that he is doing business? When you're thinking about that purpose, then you're focused not on the fact that whether you made a commission check or not, but you're focused on whether
Yes.
that service that you deliver to the customer has happened. Is the customer delighted? And customer delight makes you rich. That's the formula. Not whether the deal has to happen to make you rich, but it's about the outcome. The outcome is satisfaction. And
Yes.
that's the difference between fear and service. Service is higher order. It drives you
Right.
from an inside, whereas fear drives you from the outside. What will happen?
Excellent point, Dr. Bhootra. This is so important. And sometimes what we have to do is just let go. And even if it is, something which is not getting you a sale, you just let it go and, allow it to happen. Dr. Bhootra, can you tell us a story where shift from fear to service changed results?
Uh, When I was building my career, Dr. Dalal, one of the things that I noticed was my level of comfort dealing with certain sales managers versus my level of discomfort working with some sales managers. And when I sat back and I actually started the analysis, I actually first thought about my own way of operating and whether that was conducive. And then I realized it's nothing to do with me, it was to do with them. The way that they were working with me, the way they were engaging with me. When they were engaging with me, the questions were always around, how are you feeling in this moment right now that we've lost this deal, right? Any other manager would say to you, well, you lost the deal, that's pretty bad, shows that you're performing is not at par, you need to do something to change it, Deepak. And that's where the conversation changes. When you have a leader that's actually setting the right tone, your behavior
Right.
takes a big change to it. So that's how I would approach that in terms of the magnitude of difference that a sales manager puts into how he leads his team, the type of questions he asks. The focus is on, how are you feeling in the moment? How do you think we should approach this in the future? What have we learned from this, and the growth mindset that goes with it?
Perfect. That is excellent. And we all have stories to tell on this. And, to me, Dr. Bhootra, fear has two meanings, right? A false expectation appearing real.
Mm.
Sometimes we make people, create that situation where they may fear the worst. And sometimes it's face everything and rise. Good leaders will always try to motivate people and give them that next level, hope. That way they're going to that, rising up rather than moving downwards. So to me, it's a completely different way of leading. So what is that one mindset change someone can make to move from these two sides of fear, the negative fear to the positive fear, or from the fear to service today? What would you do?
I would, to be honest with you, I think first of all, there's two aspects to it. One is what you say to yourself as a salesperson, and two,
Mm.
how your sales leader communicates with you. And I want to focus on both elements very quickly, Dr. Dalal. When you are the one that's dealing through this, right, you need to differentiate between an impact that happened on your role versus an impact that happened to your ego. And when you disassociate those two, a world of difference occurs, right? From a sales
Correct.
manager point of view, the fun is when a sales manager sees that you're losing a deal or have lost a deal, his question
Mhm.
is, what have we learned from that, and how are we going to reposition ourselves for greatness? What learning do you take from this, Deepak, and how would you change your behavior? That conversation forces the person to go away from his rumination and worry about losing a deal and the fact that there are repercussions to it, reputational harm, monetary harm, but thinking about,
Perfect.
how can I do better, because this person in front of me is actually asking me the right question. He's asking me to think about the reaction that I'm going to have to it, but in a positive way. That's what I would say is very critical. Get your mindset right. Resilience is required in sales. You will get a no. Statistically, it's going to happen. It's like we will all die one day. The only control you and I have is, how long can we sustain this by having the right habits around exercise or eating to prolong that delay, right? But you could still get hit by a truck. But to me, it's just systematic thought process and finding the great manager that actually starts focusing on your inputs rather than focusing on your outputs. And that's how I would differentiate it, sir.
Excellent strategy for sales. Dr. Bhootra, how does a super conscious leader help someone sell smarter, not harder?
First, super conscious is a loaded word, sir, and that's your area of expertise. So I'm going to be very cautious before I give my own definitions to it. But for me, super consciousness means that one, the manager himself is self-aware of his surrounding and his impact on his people.
Yes.
But then I also look at this being one of those spidey tingling effects, right? You also understand the people you're managing and what's going through their mind. And this is where you take a personal interest in someone's well-being, thought process. And when they are down, you don't ask the typical questions. What are you going to do about it? What technique are you going to sharpen? How will you handle objection? You actually ask them, how are you feeling at this point, in this moment, and in this time? Those are the ways in which you turn this conversation around. And to me, an ultimate super conscious leader is one that manages not by the book or the ruler, finds the great balance between the carrot and the stick approach, but is actually making an effort to understand the person in front of him at a very individual level. And then being aware of putting themselves in the shoes of that person, and then saying that I'm conscious of myself and I can tell you how I would have approached it. I'm also conscious of your needs to get a positive feedback from me so that we can both work forward together. So for me, I looked at super consciousness as an approach, as a two-way. It works from the leader down, it also works from the bottom up. And if you can find that perfect storm of both coming together, that's powerful, extremely powerful.
Very well said. Very well said. It is about knowing who you're talking to and customizing your message to them. Very well said, Dr. Bhootra. So up next, we'll explore what happens when strategy looks perfect on paper, but behavior does not follow. So Dr. Bhootra will share how to bridge the gap between knowing something and doing something. So Dr. Bhootra will be right back. Do not go anywhere, folks. Please say the second segment will be really a very interesting one, which you do not want to miss. Thank you. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Imagine partnering with a firm that fuses lean precision with AI foresight, turning every process into a profit engine built on the foundation of operational excellence. Hi, I am Dr. Adil Dalal, founder and CEO of Pinnacle Process Solutions. For 20 years, we have empowered over 9,500 leaders across 25 industries and 5 continents and delivered savings from $1 million to $39 million via rapid transformations using AI, digital tools, lean, agile, and Six Sigma technologies. Through our award-winning workshops, lean AI frameworks, and human-centric coaching, we elevate culture, eliminate waste, and ignite sustainable operational excellence. Elevate your people, accelerate your performance. Visit pinnacleprocess.com and reach your pinnacle today. And we're back. Let's continue this powerful conversation. Welcome back to A Superconscious Leader. Want more inspiring conversations like this? Stay connected to A Superconscious Leader and all your Now Media TV favorites, live or on demand anytime. Download the free Now Media TV app on Roku or iOS and unlock non-stop bilingual programming in English and in Spanish. On the go, catch the podcast at nowmedia.tv. From leadership and innovation to human potential, Now Media is streaming around the clock, ready whenever you are. So welcome back. I am here with Dr. Deepak Bhootra. Now we're looking at a challenge every leader faces, the gap between strategy and behavior. Organizations often have brilliant plans, but they fail in the execution because people's habits and awareness haven't caught up to the plans. Dr. Bhootra, let's explore how a superconscious leadership closes that gap between knowing and doing, please. So this segment reveals how aligning the personal behavior with strategic vision transforms cultures and why mindfulness, and emotional intelligence are key to organizational change. So, Dr. Bhootra, why does behavior lag behind strategy in so many different organizations?
To be honest with you, I'm going to say something that I said 25 years ago in college itself. When we were going through a strategy course, I actually made a comment to the professor, and he looked at me and said to me, "You're going to go far in life, buddy." And what I said was, I get the feeling that strategy is a vain concept to ensure survival. And it's this vanity that's going to kill us, because we are so busy thinking about how to make this PowerPoint look great. We are so focused on the message and the signal to the market because we want a certain share price. The gap is you have a strategy. Now the question is, you have a strategy, but who's the strategy for? And this
Yeah.
vanity is one of the reasons why behavior never catches up, because your strategy is based upon what I call the ideal circumstance, but life is not the ideal circumstance. It's a storm, it's a milieu of mess. And what happens in the mess is the judgment that you need to make at that moment. And that's when you realize that the behavior that's required has become the wrong behavior, or you're measuring the wrong things. Strategy forces you to measure what I call egotistical bragging numbers, right? Behavior actually says you need to pick up the call and call someone 10 times a day and then get 9 no's. That is very different from strategy. And I think that's what happens in the sales world, where your behavior is primed to listen to this pie in the sky stuff. But at the end of the day, your metrics are measured on how far did you get with the deal, how far is your customer in making a change to their world, and so on, so on. That's how I would differentiate why I sometimes see this gap between strategy and behavior, Dr. Dalal.
Excellent, excellent. Dr. Bhootra, I think you probably know Peter Drucker, and he mentioned something very interesting. He said, a culture eats strategy for breakfast. What are your thoughts on that?
I have so much belief in that. For me, I've always told people, it's like substance over form. I may have a
Hmm.
legal contract that allows me to say nonsense about you, but should I be saying nonsense about you in public? The only reason for saying that is because I want to wind you up or I want to make a point, right? We want to score against someone. Same logic,
Right.
same logic. In my opinion, where if you can have the world's best structure, but if the people are not aligned, and if that
Yes.
structure is not helping you, it's not going to work. Structures are there to give you a scaffolding to do something. It's that
Yes.
something, it's that moment which makes the big difference. And that's why I always tell people, if you go back and ask a founder after 5 years,
Mhm.
why were you successful? Their answer is always classic textbook. Oh, because we had this strategy, because we had that strategy. But when you
Mhm.
actually replay all the interviews you've had with this person over the last 5 years, you actually realize he never speaks about strategy. He speaks about living the moment. We just made a mess.
Mhm.
We just learned from this. We have a product who's very slow. People don't like it. We need to pivot. We need to pivot. We need to pivot. So ask yourself a simple question. If you're constantly pivoting, then where's the strategy? That's how I would position this answer to you, sir. So
Okay.
yes, structure
Very,
is
very well
is
said.
yeah.
Yeah, I always say start with the culture, move to strategy, and then execute with
Structure,
tactics, right?
conduct, performance.
Those
Yes,
three are all
actually,
very critical.
very great. I agree with you, sir.
So, Dr. Putra, what steps help align daily actions with strategic goals? And do you have any stories or any kind of examples to share on them?
I always tell sales leaders, in particular leadership, that
Hmm.
gentlemen, your job is actually to simplify the complexity that you create at the top. And the way
Hmm.
to do that is by actually breaking it down so that it's palatable and understandable by the people who are enacting it on a daily basis. What's the
Hmm.
point of talking about strategy and platitudes, but no one at the ground level understands it? So the first thing is you break it down in metrics and activities that make a sense to that person specifically, rather than living at the top. And for me, I can actually, I spent 11 years at HP as an organization, and one of the fantastic things I learned there, which I really want to share with everyone, is the frameworks by how a vision is set and then how that vision is cascaded down. The level of granularity where we go from these 6 words at the top that says being the best PC producer in the planet or something like that, right? Now, how do you take that global ideal or that strategic focus, right, and being number one in whatever we do and blah, 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 and convert it to the down level? That granularity happens because passionate managers now break it down. That message then becomes written in your language in metrics that matter, and then you work those. And as you work those granular levers, you actually realize how it starts building up to the top. So this complexity of 50 word objectives then become
Yes.
tactics, and tactics connect back to strategy. And if you can get that flow correct, it all is magic. It's magic. The guys at the bottom know exactly what's required of them on a day-to-day basis, and
Very
every
true.
element builds to the top.
Excellent. Very well said, Dr. Putra. Uh, so, could you share a story where changing someone's behavior, may it be at the lower level or even at the C level, transform the business results.
So I look at it this way. I used to work in sub-Saharan Africa with one of the largest hardware vendors on the planet, right? And one of the things that
Okay.
happened was that the guys were growing, Dr. Dalal, at 33 to 40% per annum. And when you're
Hmm.
growing at that rate, you'll always realize that you're not hiring fast enough. So what worked yesterday will not work tomorrow. So that's where you need to
Yes.
bring in fluidity. You need to bring in a leadership style that actually says, we know what worked last week. We don't know what may work next week. So let's ask ourselves, what is that discontinuous or that incremental innovation that we need to do? What behaviors do we need to change to make sure that we maintain this trajectory that we are on? Rising water rises all, but falling water will also expose how bad you are if you don't get these fundamentals right.
Yes.
So the best way to do it is that build out structure as
Mhm.
you scale, look at how you're scaling, and then try to extrapolate from that the behaviors needed. You may need 20 people to do the job, but remember, when you're scaling, you will always be behind. So you need to figure out how are we going to keep scaling and keep maximizing the number of
Right.
people we have, because investments always have a lag where you want them to be done.
Very well said. And you know, behavior is such an important thing. And as you correctly pointed out, it's such a dynamic thing.
Very.
Made you successful yesterday can actually create the reverse results for you in future. So leaders don't understand that as the roles change, as there is major upheaval happening, you got to change your behavior
Yep.
and start every day as if a brand new day. And that can really bring so much more creativity and a new way of looking at things. And so you put it very well. Thank you very much, Dr.
No.
Bhootra. Um, how could leaders change without micromanaging their people?
This is really interesting. Let's go back to simple slogans that most likely our parents taught us when we were little, right? Teach a man
Mhm.
how to fish rather than giving him the fish. When you
Yes.
have that servant mindset, and one of the tips and tricks that my leaders used to tell me was that, Deepak, you're a very assertive, aggressive guy. When you work with people, you tend to take control. And one of the advice that was given to me that changed my life was that when you are talking to someone, never interrupt, let them finish telling you where they're struggling. Hearing someone talk about their struggle is very cathartic to the person. It may be very boring to you because you already know the answer, but letting him say it makes a world of difference as a leader. When he said it, now the question is, how will you help him? And the reality is, and what they told me was, don't sit down, Deepak, because when I sit down, I take over the computer. So the simple
Mhm.
advice was, talk to the individual and understand from them their approach. Then try to do simulations and explain to them what your approach is and how you think, and ask them whether they feel that that might be of any relevance or meaning to them. And then ask them to experiment and show you the outcome. Show interest, and don't wait for the final outcome. Tell them, let's meet interim twice before we have the final D-Day so that I can check whether you're on track or not. That shows immense psychological safety to the individual, because without psychological safety, you're always worried. I'm going to do the work and then he's going to criticize the work. But if you're telling him that I'm going to actually help you make the work better and I'm going to invest extra time in your effort, the mindset
Yes.
changes dramatically. And that's the message I would give to leaders out there. Be precise in your instructions, but be supportive. Extreme criticism should only occur when you really feel that someone has intentionally made a mistake. Look at intentionality. Goodness of heart, goodness of approach is always something that you need to consider in terms of mitigation of the way you would act and behave against that person. That's, I would say, mindset shift. Leadership is servant leadership, it's servitude. It's not,
That's
I
it.
don't want to put it this way that you're putting your jacket down on the floor and asking your person to walk over it.
Yeah.
No, no, no. That's chivalry. We're not talking about chivalry. We're talking about holding
Right.
people accountable, but with grace, with compassion.
Very well said. Thank you. Uh, Dr. Bhootra, do you have any stories to tell us about how awareness and EQ help leaders shift cultures and habits?
I'm going to be quick on this one because I'm very focused on watching behavior. So when I see a
Right.
salesperson under stress, the best indication is that you see the salesperson and you realize he's not on Zoom anymore. You look at the notes he puts into CRM and you realize that his notes are cryptic. They're not detailed the way they used to be. To
Right.
me, those are leading indicators of impending doom. And I know I'm sounding
Yeah.
very dramatic here, but the reality is that at that point, this is what I would call quiet quitting. Someone has decided that they're not in the moment. Now, people react to that and say, but you know what, he's holding up my objectives. The first point of
Yeah.
departure for me is, and this is where I've seen great managers who have given great stories. actually walk
Yes.
up and say, hey, let's go out for a cup of coffee. I wanted to talk to you about some things and just see and check. So my ex-boss, he's a Frenchman, and one of the things I learned from him was amazing, Dr. Dalal, which was, Deepak, tell me first how you are and how you're feeling and how things are going before we get into business. That's how he used to start his one-on-one. If I started talking about business, he would shut me down and he would say, no, I want to know how you're doing as a human being right now. What's bothering you? Tell me. What can I change for you? And that is how I used to focus, Dr. Dalal.
Excellent. Very, very wise advice. So thank you, Dr. Putra. So, Dr. Putra, where can leaders connect with you and learn more about your behavioral coaching programs or about your Rise Up framework?
Sir, I know this is going to sound funny, but I actually brought my Rise Up framework with me, all 517 pages of it. The book is being released on the 6th of November, Dr. Dalal. It's right there. This is something that I put together. And where to find me, Dr. Dalal? Please, very simple, sir. There, LinkedIn. Just go on LinkedIn and shout out the name Deepak Bhootra. I am the only one that actually got Deepak Bhootra in his name. There are 6 more, but they have Deepak Bhootra 666, Deepak Bhootra 789, and so on. I am the guy based out of Spring, Texas, north of Houston, and I write a lot. I have people that subscribe to my work, and I have a YouTube channel as well. I'm completely dedicated to the B2B sales function.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you very much. Folks, do not go anywhere. Coming up next, what happens when business grows faster than your identity? We'll explore how to keep your values and purpose strong during rapid expansion. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Imagine partnering with a firm that fuses lean precision with AI foresight, turning every process into a profit engine built on the foundation of operational excellence. Hi, I am Dr. Adil Dalal, founder and CEO of Pinnacle Process Solutions. For 20 years, we have empowered over 9,500 leaders across 25 industries and 5 continents and delivered savings from $1 million to $39 million via rapid transformations using AI, digital tools, lean, agile, and Six Sigma technologies. Through our award-winning workshops, lean AI frameworks, and human-centric coaching, we elevate culture, eliminate waste, and ignite sustainable operational excellence. Elevate your people, accelerate your performance. Visit pinnacleprocess.com and reach your pinnacle today. And we're back. Let's continue this powerful conversation. Welcome back to a Superconscious Leader. I'm here with Dr. Deepak Bhootra. And in this segment, we'll explore what happens when growth outpaces identity. Many organizations and leaders expand too quickly. New hires, goals, new revenue. But somewhere along the way, they lose touch with who they are. Dr. Bhootra, let's talk about how to scale without losing your soul. So this segment will focus on maintaining integrity, culture, and clarity during periods of rapid growth, and how awareness and EQ helps leaders stay grounded through this phase of expansion. So Dr. Bhootra, why do values often get lost as we scale too quickly?
Because the way we measure scale is measuring it in numbers, higher revenue, more profit. And when we are talking about more revenue, more profit, then we're blowing the horn of prosperity, right? We're blowing the horn of economic gain. And unfortunately, human beings are primed to prioritize economic gain. And in that process, we sometimes forget. It's a very simple truth, right? If by lying and cheating I can grow my business, then should I grow my business? And it becomes a very delicate conversation.
Yes.
Now let's flip it. You're not lying or cheating, but now business is growing and you need to now push the envelope very hard. Pushing the envelope simply means that previously you had, let's say, 3 deals in a quarter to do, and now you have 5. Where do you get the capacity for the 2 to be done? That capacity comes by squeezing the juice out of people by saying, hey guys, we need to stretch here. We need to spend more hours. Many companies would rather get the revenue first and then get the cost later, which means that there's always this lag between when the investment should happen in terms of resources versus the effort and work being going on. Another problem with growth is that growth is what I call, Dr. Dalal, that dopamine hit that you just crave. It's like social media, right? You see growth, you get excited, you get hyper, and then you say, look, Growth may last, may not last, but hey, guess, because we're getting growth, I'm therefore forgiven. And this is where the problem starts. The second you see that, and the best parallel I can draw for you, sir, is as follows. Salespeople are supposed to be paid a lot. Therefore, a sales leader once told me, because I pay someone a lot, therefore I own him, and therefore, Deepak, they should not complain about stress. That is the fundamental disjoint. You cannot have growth at the expense of an individual's identity or his emotions. And that's how I would position this very, very, very complex subject and topic.
Very well put, Dr. Bhootra. And one thing which is very important is a lot of corporations create a mission and vision statement, but they will never write down the values, what connects everyone. And what I do whenever I'm leading a new team is it's very important we come up with at least 5 to 10 values which we all agree to. And that really helps us stay connected. And also, when we do interviews for new hires, we look at those values and see if they connect with those. So I think those things are very easily forgotten. So um, uh, now, one other question which comes up very often, Dr. Putra, is that how do leaders preserve their identity and purpose during these periods of massive expansion?
By differentiating their metrics. What is it that you're trying to achieve? So, and this is very important here because I think you spoke about values. Let's talk about values for a second. For me,
Yeah.
the way that I look at values and the way I coach my clients is very simple. 5 years from now, if I were to walk up to the people that have been touched by you and the work you do, how would they describe you? And if those values do not tie in with what your perception of your values are, then you have a disjoint. Because the activities
Right.
that you do today are going to be remembered in 5 years from now. So in 5 years from now,
Yeah.
if you want to be remembered as a generous guy, as someone that helped people grow, but at the same time you are squeezing the juice out of people, as I said before, right, Dr. Dalal? And you're always focused on the bottom line. Where are we on the quota? How far off from the quota are we? If you cannot perform, I will replace you. When you operate on that mechanism, then I guarantee you, in 5 years, no one is going to remember you with the labels that you think you should be remembered by. So one trick I teach people is find out your brand, find out the 3 labels you want, and then always ask yourself, are your activities living up to that brand? Because if they aren't, then you're fooling yourself. Then it's not a brand. You're playing a game, you're running a facade. And I think that's how I would position a response to your question.
Yes, you're a chameleon now. That's very well said. Uh, but could you share a story of a company that scaled without losing their soul?
Yes, I can actually. What is interesting about my story, though, that this will disappoint you, Dr. Dalal, it's a company that actually ran out of business later and got acquired by a larger company. But one thing I wanted to mention is I worked for this company for 7 years of my life, and this is what I learned from them. Growth will come, but growth will never come at the cost of your principles and your values. If you are an engineering-led organization that will always produce products that deliver value to a customer, and if a customer is dissatisfied, you will return their money back to them with no questions asked. That mindset is very noble, very different, right? Now, at the end of the day, you also need to run a value system that delivers profits because you need to sustain an organization and a business. And I think that's where the dilemma lies, right? Because you need to figure out that path and that level of consciousness in which to decide what is good and what is then profitable is the balance that we typically lose out on. So my story is pretty simple. Find a value system that works, but at the same time also understand how do you sustain this value system by having an economic model that supports it, an economic model that supports the right behaviors, and that's not as easy as I make it sound.
No, that is so true. And Dr. Putra, I do a lot of work with AI, and I'm really a proponent of AI, but I'm also worried about companies losing their soul when they give up control to AI. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, Dr. Dalal, I wish we had like 6 hours to talk about it and maybe sit in a bar because
I
for
totally
me,
agree with you
AI
that
is a
that is how I
fantastic
feel about this
AI
topic
is a
too.
fantastic topic. First of all, everyone looks at AI as something that the difference this time is that when we got calculators and when we got Excel and when we got, let's say,
Right.
data science or machine learning, these were either extremely simplistic tools. No one
Mm-hmm.
was interested in how the calculator was built, but we knew that we can put a number here and voila, some
Right.
result comes out. Now you have what I call democratization of knowledge and experience. You suddenly have people that have never coded before being able to now interrogate large models and get output from them that is mind-boggling, right? Here's the
Right.
reality though. A lot of people look at AI as a crutch to hobble their way to greatness, or they look at AI as the end itself, whereas it's only the means. For me,
Right.
the message to salespeople in general and to leadership is as follows. AI cannot work on a broken process or a broken behavior or a bad value system. AI
Yes.
will actually expose how bad your system is by scaling stupidity. And you need to stop scaling stupidity. I'm sorry to say that very crudely to the world out there. Here are the companies that are going to rock the world. These are companies that actually understand that they are not the human in the loop, they are the loop. Everyone talks about AI and then a human being in the loop, which means that AI is important and a human being is subservient. Wrong. The human
Wrong.
being is, I would call it the planet, and AI is the orbital satellite that runs around it. When you get that mindset right, and then you look at the way you integrate it and work with it, you're using
Right.
it to get foresight, you're using it as a force multiplier. You're not using it to write emails to clients, you're not using it to write LinkedIn DMs to clients. That is what I call low-hanging fruit. Now what has happened is that you spoke about laziness, right, with AI. My God, we are surrounded by laziness, absolutely. In fact, I can tell you right now that Dr. Dalal, if you were to tell me that, hey Deepak, I want to speak to you tomorrow and I have these 5 questions for you, the first thing I'm going to go is actually go to AI and say, I would like to make Dr. Dalal very proud of me, help me figure out a talk track to this. And I think that's a judicious use of AI. The problem
Right.
with AI is when you use it to give you ideas that were never yours, and then you sit
Mm.
in a studio and try to make those ideas sound like yours, you're just going to expose yourself. AI
Very
works
true.
when you take your core and you amplify it with AI to look at your logic and your thought process and be the devil's advocate to your own ideation. That's how you grow.
So,
With AI, I would
right.
argue that in the last 1 year, I've achieved 5x terms of value that I give to my customers. That's extremely critical for me. And I'm now able to command a better hourly rate also. And I think that's how I would judge AI's use. Does it add more
Super.
value? Does it make you more
Totally agree with you.
eloquent? That's how I would position it, Dr.
Totally
Lal.
agree with you. This is such an important topic, and you're right. We could continue talking on this for a very long time.
Yeah.
Um, uh, so I have a very important question on companies which are nonstop in a, I call it the whitewater change, where continuously there is change going on. And I actually work for a company like that. How does one, what practices can we have to anchor people's identity when things are constantly changing?
So first of all, I think the reality is that change is a constant. That should be one of
Correct.
your value metrics and systems. Make it very clear to people that, guys, we will innovate and we will innovate fast, we will fail fast, we will learn fast.
Mm.
You need to rise to the occasion, and here's how we're going to do it. We're going to do it by immense, open, concrete communications. We're going to learn from our mistakes and commit not to letting those mistakes happen. Our value system is going to be that of a flywheel. You build an inner system that actually allows
Mhm.
you to throw ideas in and they get magnified. More growth, more learning for the people. Now to build that, you need to have a very strict value system. And I think that's where the focus needs to be. And that's how I would answer that question, Dr. Dalal. It's a flywheel of opportunism, it's a flywheel of values. Build that and you will actually realize that all the other things are just noise. They come into the system is flexible enough to absorb it, and the system has well-defined, grounded rules. We don't play outside those rules, we play within those rules, and that's how you give people the courage to understand what change means. People don't have a problem with change, people have a problem with uncertainty from that change. We will change from this building to the next. So the uncertainty is, I will lose all my equipment, I'll have to find the new toilets, I might get a new computer, whoa, 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 what about the traffic from home? So you solve that problem. So they're not focused on the change anymore, they focus on alleviating the fear of the change that is hitting them. That is a nuance that I feel a lot of companies don't get right. They're so talking about the future, particularly with AI. AI is going to change us. AI is going to allow me to get rid of 6 salespeople. And what language is that? Why can't AI allow you to position those 6 people to do something different? We are
Right.
always having a language of cost reduction. And that is the best way to destroy your value system, when you start looking at
Very well.
innovation as a way to get rid of people. And once you start saying that, those who are left, do they remain staying there? Because AI is going to have an onslaught that's going to be massive in any case.
Right. Perfect. Thank you very much, Dr. Putra. Folks, when we come back, Dr. Putra and I will talk about a very important topic: what truly defines a leader's legacy, one that goes far beyond metrics, the KPIs, and also endures through impact. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Imagine partnering with a firm that fuses lean precision with AI foresight, turning every process into a profit engine built on the foundation of operational excellence. Hi, I am Dr. Adil Dalal, founder and CEO of Pinnacle Process Solutions. For 20 years, we have empowered over 9,500 leaders across 25 industries and 5 continents and delivered savings from $1 million to $39 million via rapid transformations using AI, digital tools, lean, agile, and Six Sigma technologies. Through our award-winning workshops, lean AI frameworks, and human-centric coaching, we elevate culture, eliminate waste, and ignite sustainable operational excellence. Elevate your people, accelerate your performance. Visit pinnacleprocess.com and reach your pinnacle today. And we're back. Let's continue this powerful conversation. Welcome back to a Superconscious Leader. Don't miss a second of the show or any of your favorite Now Media shows, streaming live and on demand wherever you are. Grab the free Now Media TV app on Roku or iOS and enjoy access to your full bilingual lineup. Prefer podcasts? Listen to a Superconscious Leader anytime on nowmedia.tv. From leadership and innovation to mindfulness and growth, Now Media is available 24/7, bringing you stories and inspiring you to move to that next level of excellence. We're closing today's conversation with Dr. Deepak Bhootra, and this segment is about a very important topic about a leader's legacy, the kind of leadership that lives beyond dashboard and numbers. True legacy isn't measured in profit margins. It is measured in people, purpose, and the transformative impact we leave behind. So, Dr. Bhootra, this is a very important topic to me. In fact, I've written 2 books on a legacy-driven life. So let's talk about how leaders can rise above metrics and lead with meaning and not only leave a legacy, but live a legacy today. So why is focusing only on metrics dangerous for long-term leadership legacy, Dr. Bhootra?
Well, this will make you laugh, Dr. Dalal, but all my life I've been a big statured guy. Let's put it that way, right? My mom used to laugh and tell me that this is one person I've seen always constantly dieting, right? And if there's one thing in dieting that you learn is you learn to measure results, right? Now the question is, if I'm weighing myself every day and if I'm measuring my cholesterol, my body fat and all that, then why do so many people who diet fail? They fail because measurement is not sufficient. You need to have that inner spark, something that kicks off to actually say this measurement is 8 of what. So the best way to describe it to you is as follows. Instead of telling me that you're going to look great in a 40-inch waist jeans, Deepak, rather the point should actually be that, Deepak, if you were at 48, 38-inch waist and you were able to spend more time with the kids, go more backpacking, and that could add a couple of years to your life, how would that feel like to you? And that changes the entire thought process, right? Now, legacy, this will be a great conversation, but I'm going to stop for a second because that one question was so loaded and so well done that to start it off. Did that answer your question, Dr. Dalal?
Yes, you did. I mean, the example is so important and so powerful, and it's personal to everyone, right? Everyone is today,
absolutely,
struggling with weight, and that example was perfect, Dr. Bhootra. So, how does this lead to long-term? Like, how would you link it to your legacy, what you're leaving behind? This example, how would you extrapolate that?
Here's the funny thing with legacy, right? It's like saying that, one day you'll be punished by God. After you die, you're going to go to heaven or hell, right? It's one of those things. And I keep telling people, let's not focus on what's going to happen to you and what judgment day looks like. Let's ask yourself a simple question. If judgment day were to be done while you're alive, what would that conversation look like for you at that particular point?
Yes.
And if you still don't understand me, then let's put you in your deathbed. And I want you to have your family walk by and say to you, look you in the eye and tell you what they remember you the most for. I guarantee you, it's not going to be the fact that I remember when we used to live in Singapore, and I'm going to give you a true story, Dr. Dalal. It was my birthday and Dad couldn't make it because he was traveling to Indonesia. And he kept sending me messages, and he bought me a large teddy bear and a Puma branded shoes as compensation for not being there. That's a great thing, but that's not a legacy. That's not a legacy. A legacy is my son saying, Dad, I remember that memory with you when we were in Singapore together and I wanted to get some ice cream. And we were like walking in the heat and the ice cream fell. And you told me, no, no, boy, come, I'll get you another one. And we walked back 2 kilometers because I really wanted that ice cream and you really honored me with that. That's legacy. Legacy is thinking about how will people remember you when you're gone. And I always tell people, when I first heard about the fact that people were being asked, write your obituary, I was actually appalled. I thought it was very morbid, Dr. Dalal, right? But it actually forced a rethink. And COVID actually made me realize that we have lost the point of humanity sometimes, right? Sometimes we need a COVID to come and shake us up and think about what's happening around us. For me, my repurposing in life happened because of COVID. So that's another story, but I think that's how I would position that response to your question, sir.
Such a powerful story with your dad. I mean, it's these small things, what people do for you, and what sticks in your mind is something so unique, right? It's not the things you get, it's how people make you feel. That is what is so critical.
Yes.
So, beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that. Dr. Bhootra, what does meaningful leadership legacy look like beyond the boardroom, beyond the dashboards and everything? How would you define meaningfully?
I can tell you
leadership?
how I define it. It's so simple. It's going to make you laugh, Dr. Dalal. I have 4 degrees from 4 continents, and I'm going to tell you something that is so simple. You will just think, what a waste of time bringing this guy on this show. Dr. Dalal, this is what leadership looks like. Someone has worked for you. He has now not seen you for 5 years. But every attitude and everything he does, he remembers the rules and the things you taught him. You're at an airport and this guy is 5 gates away from you. He started boarding. He looks across and he sees you standing at gate number C9 and he's at C5. He says, wait, that looks like Deepak. He tells the people with him, guys, just hold on to my seat. Can you take my bag on for me? I really need to go pay my respects. He runs. And he runs at the same time I'm boarding. He begs the person to please, he waves and screams, stop him. They stop me, I turn around and we hug. And that's when you realize that's affection, that is respect. Telling you that you have achieved the highest state of nirvana, in my opinion, right? Where you are actually now being cherished by people for being the human that you are. And that's what I tell people, look at your behavior. Will people remember you as someone that they would actually drop everything they're doing and run to your side if they saw you boarding a flight 5 gates away and they know they might miss their flight? That to me is the ultimate test. So every action I do in life, I ask myself, would this person run from 5 gates down to say hi to me? And if he won't, will he at least send me a message to say, I saw you. It was so nice to see you after 5 years. I really, really appreciate you for everything you've done for me. Let's chat, let's catch up. And I get messages like that on a daily basis. And that's when I know I have done what was expected of me. And that's my request to everyone else. Measure your actions by how people react to you. I just sent a note to the person that connected with me in 2004 on LinkedIn for the first time. And all I said was, I still remember the meeting, the last meeting we had. We were sitting in a boardroom working on a large RFP in Johannesburg, South Africa. How are you doing? And she replied back, Deepak, I've been talking about you every year. And I was just a few weeks back telling her that you got to meet this guy. He's so funny. And that's just life, isn't it? Simple metrics, simple logic.
Very true. And but this respect, for you comes when you respect them. So it would not have come if you did not have that, respect during their tenure. So absolutely what you said is so true, but it's a give and take, right? That respect has to be earned. So thank you for sharing that, Dr. Bhootra. What one action today helps someone build a legacy that matters?
I would say, going back to what we spoke about earlier, that action you're taking and that behavior you're displaying, would that be remembered as a positive? If that action were to be watched by a 12-year-old, would they take something positive from it or would they take something negative from it? I think that's the simple litmus test. We actually have become so adult in our behavior that we actually forget sometimes that we need to be the innocence of a child. If you can motivate a child and you can motivate an adult to a right behavior, I think you're set for life. That's how I would answer that question, Dr. Dalal, in terms of simplification. Don't try to over-engineer how you interact with people. Don't try to be an over-smart, always judging people. You can't. We have not earned the right to judge, right? What we have earned the right to do is to make life easier, better, give advice, share openly what things have worked for you, and then ask them, do you think doing it my way would help you or not? And if not, why, and let's shape each other's understanding of the world as we move forward. It's an extremely powerful way of operating. And to me, a super conscious leader is ultimately one who is in tune with his own self-awareness, willing to keep growing, but very importantly, understanding that the people around him are impacted by his behavior and his culture, and always working towards getting that feel that people always know that, the world is topsy-turvy, but this guy remains stable. And look, it's not easy. I'm known for having a temper, Dr. Dalal, right? I do lose my temper at times, but my recovery is faster now. Within 3 or 4 minutes, I'll be back to my normal. I typically walk away from a situation where I don't want to embarrass myself, but I'm feeling down. I've lost a deal. I want to scream at the world. I want to shake my fist towards God, right? But you kind of stop yourself, walk away. I take the dog for a walk, calm myself down. I come back and I'm back to being what is supposed to be normal in that circumstance, right? So everyone has to figure out their own way of navigating the inner turmoil, the inner behaviors, so that you're always exhibiting the right behaviors and the right charm to the people out there.
That is a sign of maturity and a higher EQ. So, and we all early in the career we can change. We feel we'll change the world, and then we realize all we can change is ourselves. So, what a beautiful conversation we've had, Dr. Bhootra. This was an amazing conversation. Where can our viewers find your book, Rise Up, Your Career Reclaimed? And also, how can they learn more about your work on purposeful leadership?
Sure. So, Dr. Dalal, the book is on Amazon.com. If you go and actually just search on my name, Deepak Bhootra, you're going to find this and the other books that I've authored. Besides that, I'm very active on LinkedIn. Anyone who goes on LinkedIn and looks for Deepak Bhootra is going to find me there. I am literally living on LinkedIn. I am very prolific in terms of my thought process on B2B sales leadership. I write quite a lot on that. I also have a YouTube channel. But LinkedIn is a great way to reach out to me, and would love to have a conversation with anyone who wants to discuss leadership, who wants to discuss what's happening in the world of sales and the onslaught of AI.
Excellent. Dr. Bhootra, thank you very much for reminding us that the most powerful form of leadership isn't about control, it is about consciousness. To our viewers, remember this: leadership begins not with what you do, but who you are and how you make others feel. Lead with awareness, serve with love, and your legacy will write itself. I am Dr. Adil Dalal, and this has been a super conscious leader. Remember, in the age of AI, you do not need to be superhuman. You just need to be super conscious.